Tomorrow morning, one of the rarest astrological events in recorded history happens. Saturn and Neptune meet at 0 degrees Aries. The last time these two planets met at this exact degree, humans were just beginning to plant seeds in the ground instead of hunting and gathering. We're talking 7000 BC, the birth of agriculture, the moment humanity learned that what you plant today becomes your food tomorrow. And that's not a metaphor. That's literally what's happening right now, except instead of planting wheat, you're planting your financial reality for the next 36 years. But here's what nobody's telling you about tomorrow's massive Saturn-Neptune conjunction. Tomorrow isn't when you plant. Tomorrow is when Saturn shows up and says, whatever you planted in the past 48 hours, I'm making it permanent. Tomorrow is when the structure arrives, when the discipline locks in, when your seeds either become a garden or they become weeds, and you can't change what you planted after Saturn gets there. You can only plant today, right now, in these final 24 hours before the universe's gardener shows up and makes everything you chose permanent for the next 3.5 decades. And here's the split that's happening right now. The wealthy women, the ones who actually understand how manifestation works, they're planting today. They're in their feelings, they're in their desires, they're in their hearts choosing what they actually want, not what sounds good, not what they should want, what they actually, viscerally, in their body want. And tomorrow when Saturn arrives, he's going to take those feeling-based seeds and turn them into structured, disciplined, permanent wealth. The broke women, they're not planting, they're thinking about planting, they're researching what they should plant, they're asking other people what seeds are best. They're in their minds instead of their hearts. And tomorrow when Saturn shows up, he's going to structure their hesitation. He's going to make their indecision permanent. He's going to turn their mental confusion into 36 years of the same patterns they've been running. Because Saturn doesn't care if you're ready. He structures whatever's there. And if what's there is fear instead of desire, that's what becomes permanent. Demeter knew the secret. What you plant in spring determines what you eat in winter, forever. Let me tell you about Demeter, the Greek goddess of harvest and agriculture. She understood something that most people miss about planting. It's not about the harvest. The harvest is automatic. If you plant corn, you get corn. If you plant weeds, you get weeds. The power isn't in the growing. The power is in the choosing. In those first few days when you decide what seeds go in the ground. Because once they're planted, once they start growing, you can't change them. You can only harvest what you chose. And Demeter had this other gift. She could feel which seeds were alive and which were dead. She didn't need to analyze them. She didn't need to research them. She put her hand on them and felt whether they had life force, whether they would actually grow into something that could feed her. And that's the gift that's available to you today. The ability to feel which desires are alive and which are dead. Which dreams actually have life force and which are just things you think you should want. Because here's what happens when you plant from your mind instead of your heart. You plant what looks good, what sounds impressive, what other people would approve of. And then Saturn shows up tomorrow and structures it. And you spend the next 36 years growing something you never actually wanted. Building a business that looks successful but drains you. Creating a relationship that looks perfect but feels empty. Accumulating wealth that impresses people but doesn't fulfill you, because you planted from should instead of desire. The wealthy women planting today, they're not worried about whether their desires make sense. They're not checking if their dreams are realistic. They're feeling into what actually lights them up, what makes their body say yes, what creates that pull in their chest that feels like magnetic certainty. And they're planting those seeds, even if they're weird, even if they don't make logical sense, even if nobody else would choose them, because they understand that Saturn structures feeling-based seeds into wealth, but he structures mind-based seeds into obligation. What's actually happening in the next 24 hours and why this baby moon matters more than the eclipse. So let me break down what's happening astrologically because the timing of this is perfect and terrifying. The eclipse was 2 days ago. The ring of fire that reset everything, and immediately after, the moon went dark again. New moon, baby moon, the youngest, most innocent, most pure potential phase of the lunar cycle. Only 5% illuminated, barely visible, just a sliver of light in the darkness, and that baby moon is in Pisces. The sign of dreams, intuition, feeling, boundaryless possibility, the sign where everything dissolves into everything else, where you can't tell where you end and the universe begins, where desire and destiny are the same thing. And this baby moon is saying, plant in the dark, plant in the feeling, plant in the not knowing, plant what your heart wants, not what your mind approves. Because tomorrow, Saturn enters the conversation. Saturn in Aries, the planet of structure, discipline, long-term consequences, meeting the sign of initiation, action, bold moves, and Saturn is joining Neptune, who's already in Aries, and Neptune is the planet of dreams, visions, infinite possibility. So tomorrow you have the dream maker and the structure maker in the same place, at the same degree, at 0 degrees Aries, the literal first degree of the entire zodiac, the reset point, the beginning of everything. And when these two planets meet, they don't just create one outcome, they create a 36-year cycle, a generational shift. The last time Saturn and Neptune met was 1989. The Berlin Wall fell, the Soviet Union dissolved, the entire world order restructured itself, and before that was 1953, and before that 1917. Every 36 years, these two planets meet, and the world fundamentally changes. Old structures dissolve, new dreams become reality, what was impossible becomes mandatory. But here's what makes this conjunction different from all the others. It's at 0 degrees Aries. The last time Saturn and Neptune met at this degree was before recorded history. This isn't just a generational shift, this is a civilizational shift. This is the kind of alignment that changes what it means to be human, and on a personal level, it's the alignment that makes your desires permanent. That takes whatever you're feeling right now and structures it into your reality for the next 36 years. So today, with this baby moon in Pisces, you have a 24-hour window to feel into what you actually want, to get quiet enough to hear your heart instead of your head, to plant seeds that are alive instead of seeds that sound good. Because tomorrow when Saturn shows up, he's not going to ask if you're sure. He's not going to give you time to reconsider. He's going to look at whatever you planted today and say, this, for 36 years, let's build it. Pisces, you're being asked to dream so big it scares you, then plant it anyway before midnight tonight. If you're a Pisces sun, moon or rising, this baby moon is in your sign, and I need you to understand what that means. Your desires right now aren't just desires, they're prophecies. What you're feeling isn't just feeling, it's information. Your heart is downloading the blueprint for the next 36 years of your life, and you have until midnight tonight to plant it consciously. Or Saturn shows up tomorrow and plants it for you based on whatever you were unconsciously feeling. Here's what I think is happening for Pisces specifically. You've been in this fog for weeks, maybe months, where you can feel something wants to emerge but you can't quite see what it is. You know you're supposed to be doing something different, but you can't articulate what. You have this sense that your life is about to completely change, but you don't know how. That's the download. That's Neptune in your second house of money and resources, whispering there's a completely different way to create wealth. And it's based on your dreams, not your discipline. And tomorrow when Saturn joins Neptune in your second house, that whisper becomes a structure. That vague knowing becomes a concrete path. That feeling becomes a financial system, but only if you plant the right seeds today. Only if you're willing to feel into what you actually want, instead of what makes logical sense. Here's what to plant today if you're Pisces. Plant the desire for wealth that feels easy, that flows, that doesn't require you to become someone else. I know you've been told that abundance requires hustle, that prosperity demands sacrifice, that you have to give up your sensitivity to make money. That's a lie, and tomorrow Saturn is going to structure whatever you believe about wealth. So today, plant the belief that your softness is your wealth, that your intuition is your competitive advantage, that your ability to feel is what makes you rich. Write it down, tonight, before you sleep. I create wealth through feeling. Money flows to me because I'm sensitive, not despite it. My dreams aren't escapes from reality, they're blueprints for reality. And then tomorrow, when Saturn shows up, he's going to take those seeds and build you a financial system where being Pisces is the strategy, not the liability. Cancer, your relationships are being restructured, and what you plant in love today becomes law tomorrow. Now, Cancer, sun, moon, or rising, this baby moon is activating your ninth house, the house of belief systems, higher learning, long-distance vision. And tomorrow's Saturn-Neptune conjunction is happening in your 10th house of career, public life, reputation. So here's what's actually happening for you. The way you think about success is being completely restructured, and you have 24 hours to decide what that restructure looks like. Here's what I think you've been feeling. You've built this public identity, this career, this reputation, and it looks good. People respect it. It makes sense on paper, but it doesn't feel like you anymore. Or maybe it never felt like you, and you're just now admitting it. You've been climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong building, and you know it. And tomorrow Saturn is going to make that ladder permanent, unless you change the building today. The baby moon in Pisces in your ninth house is asking you one question. What do you actually believe success looks like? Not what your family taught you, not what society values, not what would make other people proud. What does your heart say success feels like? And here's the Cancer-specific piece. I think your heart is saying success feels like nourishment, like creating something that feeds people, like building a career that's an extension of care, not an escape from it. But you've been trying to separate your caring nature from your professional ambition, trying to be tough in your career and soft at home, trying to prove you can be successful without being nurturing, and it's exhausting. And tomorrow Saturn is going to structure either that exhaustion or a new way, where your sensitivity is your brand, where your ability to care is your competitive advantage, where nourishing people is how you build wealth. So here's what to plant today. Plant the desire for a career that feels like home, that allows you to be yourself, that rewards your caring instead of requiring you to hide it. Write it down. I build professional success through emotional intelligence. My ability to nurture is what makes me valuable. The more myself I am, the more successful I become. And tomorrow, when Saturn structures your career, those are the seeds he's going to build from. Scorpio, your wealth is being revolutionized, and the seeds you plant in power today become money tomorrow. Okay, Scorpio sun, moon, or rising, this is hitting your 5th house, the house of creativity, pleasure, self-expression, risk. And tomorrow's Saturn-Neptune conjunction is happening in your 6th house of daily work, health, service, routines. So here's the setup. The way you've been working isn't sustainable. The routines you've been running are burning you out, and you know it. And tomorrow Saturn is either going to make that burnout permanent, or he's going to structure a completely new way of working. And which one happens depends on what you plant today. Here's what I think has been happening for Scorpio. You've been treating work like a war, like something you have to dominate, like the only way to be successful is to be ruthless. And that strategy worked for a while. It got you results. It built you power, but it's also costing you your life force, your creativity, your pleasure. You're winning, but you're not enjoying it. And tomorrow Saturn is going to structure either that intensity or a new approach. The baby moon in Pisces in your 5th house is asking you to plant seeds of pleasure, to decide that success can feel good, that work can be creative, that you can build wealth through joy instead of through suffering. And I know that sounds soft to you. I know Scorpio doesn't trust soft, but here's what you're missing. Pleasure isn't weak. Pleasure is power that doesn't need to prove itself. And tomorrow Saturn is offering to structure your pleasure into a system that generates wealth. So here's your specific planting protocol. Tonight, before you sleep, write down 3 things you would do for work if money wasn't a factor, if you didn't have to prove anything, if success was about enjoyment instead of domination. Don't edit them, don't make them realistic, just feel into what would actually bring you pleasure, and then write this. I build wealth through what I enjoy. My creativity is my competitive advantage. The more pleasure I allow, the more prosperous I become. And tomorrow, when Saturn shows up to structure your daily work, those are the seeds he's going to find. And he's going to build you a routine where creativity isn't a break from work, It is the work where pleasure isn't a reward for success. It's the strategy for success, where you're not choosing between power and enjoyment. You're generating power through enjoyment. The midnight protocol and what to do in these final hours before Saturn locks everything in. All right, so you have until midnight tonight. Not metaphorically midnight, actual midnight, before tomorrow when Saturn and Neptune meet and make permanent whatever you planted. And I'm going to give you the exact protocol for these final hours, because this isn't just about thinking good thoughts. This is about actually planting seeds in your energetic field that Saturn can structure tomorrow. First, get alone, completely alone. No music, no phone, no distractions, just you and the baby moon and the quiet. Because you can't feel what you actually want when you're surrounded by other people's desires. You can't plant your seeds when you're standing in someone else's garden. So create space, physical space, energetic space, space where the only voice you can hear is your own heart. Second, ask the question, not what should I want, not what would be smart to plant. Ask, what do I actually desire? And then sit with that question. Let it sink into your body, let it move from your head to your heart, to your womb, to your gut. And wait, don't rush the answer, don't force it, just feel, and whatever comes up first, whatever makes your body say yes before your mind can analyze it, that's the seed. Third, write it down, not typed, handwritten, because when you write by hand, you're using your body to plant. Your hand is literally putting the seed into physical form. And write it in present tense. Not I want wealth. Write I have wealth. Not I hope to create. Write I create. Not I wish for love. Write I am loved, because Saturn structures what is, not what might be. So write your desires as current reality. Fourth, burn something. This is critical. You need to release the old seeds before you can plant the new ones. So find something that represents what you've been planting unconsciously. Maybe it's a limiting belief written on paper. Maybe it's a symbol of an old identity. Maybe it's just the word fear, or should, or not enough. Write it and burn it. Actually burn it. Watch the smoke dissolve into the air, because that smoke is carrying the old seeds away, making space for the new ones you just planted. And fifth, sleep with your seeds under your pillow. Literally, the paper you wrote your desires on, fold it, put it under your pillow, and sleep on it. Because tonight is the last night where your seeds are just seeds. Tomorrow they become structure. Tomorrow Saturn turns them into systems. So tonight, let your unconscious mind integrate them. Let your body absorb them. Let your energy field reorganize itself around them, so that when Saturn shows up tomorrow morning, these seeds aren't just written words. They're already growing. Why tomorrow changes everything and what the next 36 years actually look like. Here's what you need to understand about tomorrow. When Saturn and Neptune meet at 0 degrees Aries, they're not just creating a moment, they're opening a 36-year cycle. Everything you plant today starts growing tomorrow, and it grows for 36 years. That's longer than most marriages, longer than most careers, longer than some lifetimes. This isn't a quick manifestation. This is the foundation of the rest of your life. And 0 degrees Aries isn't just a degree. It's the reset point of the entire zodiac. It's where everything begins, where the wheel starts turning, where initiation happens. So when Saturn and Neptune meet there, they're not just restructuring your current reality. They're initiating you into a completely new one. They're saying everything before this was preparation. Everything after this is the actual life. The women who understand this, who are planting with intention today, they're going to spend the next 36 years watching their seeds grow into gardens, into forests, into ecosystems that generate wealth, pleasure, love, and power automatically, because they planted from desire, from heart, from feeling, and Saturn is going to structure those feelings into systems that work. The women who don't understand this, who are spending today in their minds instead of their hearts, they're going to spend the next 36 years wondering why nothing changes, why they keep running the same patterns, why success always feels just out of reach. Because they planted from fear, from should, from other people's expectations, and Saturn structured those fears into their permanent reality. And here's the thing about Saturn. He doesn't judge. He doesn't care if your seeds are good or bad. He just structures whatever's there. If you planted prosperity, he builds prosperity. If you planted scarcity, he builds scarcity. If you planted pleasure, he builds pleasure. If you planted obligation, he builds obligation. He's neutral. He's just the gardener. And tomorrow morning he shows up with his tools and starts building whatever you chose today. So the question isn't whether Saturn is going to structure your life. He is. The question is, what are you giving him to work with? Are you planting desires that are alive, or are you planting ideas that are dead? Are you choosing from your heart, or are you choosing from your head? Are you brave enough to plant what you actually want, or are you playing it safe and planting what you think you should want? Because in 36 years, you're going to look back at today, at this baby moon in Pisces, at these final 24 hours before Saturn arrived, and you're either going to think, that's when I planted the garden that became my life, or you're going to think, that's when I missed the window. And the only difference between those two outcomes is what you do tonight. In these final hours, before midnight, before Saturn shows up and makes everything permanent. All right, you have until midnight. The baby moon is in Pisces. Your heart knows what it wants. Your body knows what's alive. Your soul knows what seeds to plant. So get quiet. Get alone, feel into your actual desires, write them down, burn the old, sleep on the new, and tomorrow, when Saturn shows up to structure your reality for the next 36 years, you'll know you planted from truth, from power, from the wealthy feminine who knows that what you feel today becomes what you have tomorrow. Plant wisely.